All right, what's going on, everybody? What a day! What a fantastic, entertaining day. We've got a lot to get into, so, let's just jump right into it. So, first of all, you've got Elon Musk and the Trumpsters going at it with some serious shots fired by Elon Musk. Geez, wow. So I figured on that theme, it was the perfect day to wear this shirt. And it reads, if you guys can't see it, should the government ... Nope, they should not. Should the government build a high-speed railway in California? No, they should not. Should the government blah blah blah? No, they should. Should the government pass the spending bill? No. Should the government do this? No, the government shouldn't do anything. They're terrible. So we'll continue on with that theme here moving forward. We had some huge selling today, which is also why I said yesterday I'm going to be taking profits, reducing exposure coming into today. The risk was to the downside, which we got. Is there more pain to come? I don't know. There very well could be. We're not in the business of predicting anything, right? You look at the probabilities. There was a higher probability that we would have sold off today, then continued higher. So as I was going through that video last night, multiple times I said, be cautious. And you know what? I'm going to start getting out of these positions. Crazy day with a Trump and China call as well. And we're going to have a bonus section today on day trading. I figure that's what people used to always ask for. And then when I stopped doing day trading, everyone loves day trading. So when I stopped doing day trading segment, I think, I lost some people along the way. So we'll bring it back. There's a time and a place for day trading, that's for sure. Anyone who says otherwise doesn't have a profitable strategy, right? So it's just how it goes in life. So let's jump into it. Profits taken, exposure reduced big time, TQQQ for the NASDAQ calls, but I like to use this leveraged fund. So those were July 18 is the expiration, $70 strike price. $670 is what I paid for those. I sold them at $775, which is a small gain of 15%. And I'll show you where I got out of these. And I got out of these in the morning. Okay, this massive selling coming in, I said, forget it. I'm out of here. I figured the risk was to the downside today. And it was. It certainly turned out there was some huge selling. Monstrous selling, which we'll go over in the day trading segment. But just, look at this selling. So, anyways, after, all in this area right here was when Trump and China were talking or whatever, some trade deal crap, and that, it's whatever. That was that huge rally into here, which was very suspect of anyways. And so in there is where I got out of Palantir. So we talked about the NASDAQ calls, a small gain. Palantir, another small gain, 126-ish. Oh, wow. That's some serious selling. Palantir, 126.67 was the average cost basis. I got out of that at exactly 130. So that's just like a 5% gain, 4%, something like that, 3%, whatever. Small gain. But equity position. So in terms of the dollar amount, I always have a significant amount more money in an equity position. So still that's fine. That's fine. Now with Palantir, what I was saying a few days ago is the fact that it's limping out is of serious concern. And so given that it was limping out, as well as where the index was at, and with the video last night going over everything, and I came to the conclusion that the risk was to the downside in equities. Today I blasted out of basically everything, except for longer term positions and IBIT calls. We have 71 days to expiration on these calls. August 15 is the expiration, so like I said, 71 days, $61 strike price. 485 is what I paid for those. Those are 367. So we're getting smoked on these. And this looks terrible. I don't know what to say other than this looks like crap. This massive breakthrough. We were talking about, on this day here, where I had added to this position, this was a textbook beautiful pullback off the 21-day moving average. But then when I had said this is never a good sign when strength off of a pullback gets sold into. Sure enough, it just boom blasted. So I expect this to go below 100,000, maybe hitting 97,000 or so. I could be completely wrong on that. That's fine. 97,000, something like that. We'll see how that level holds. Does that look? Yeah, it would be nice to see some sort of shakeout and recovery. And if that is the case, I will add to this. If not, I will blow these out, and that's fine. Now going over here to Argentina, looks also terrible. I would love to give this some time to work. This gap down here really scares me all the way down to 79. I don't think I can be holding these. Plus, this is super illiquid options market and Argentina ETF. Super illiquid. And since that's the case, the size is very, very small, very minimal on this. But like I said, still have some exposure in here. Close below the 50-day moving average, I would just get out of these. But again, super light in these. So, whatever. My plan is to give this time to work. You had really nice volume here on this breakout. So that's good to see, and I want to give this some time to work out. Equities right now super weak, and we're gonna give this time to work out. But I'm not gonna hold it for this gap fill down here, even though that would be completely fine. And maybe a place to try and get long again, to try and go after this if this gap does in fact get filled. But I'm not one of those people that's willing to risk a large amount on my trades. I know some people are, and that can certainly work out a lot of the time, but the 10% of the time it does not work out, you get wrecked. So for me personally, I'm not into that. Okay, waste management, longer term positions, waste management looks totally fine. Shoot, this looks pretty good. GTX, let's see how this one is faring. Whatever, still in that one, down on GTX, it's all good. So, that's it for all the positions. So, the plan going into today was the risk being to the downside. I was going to close out most of my positions and take profit on those positions. And that was the plan, stuck to the plan. So, that is always a good thing to do. because depending on a certain style or strategy that you have, there's a bunch of different strategies that can work. The one that I've developed works for me. So as long as I stick to the plan over the long run, it's all good, and it all works out, right? So you stick to the plan, trade the plan. That is a success, and that's what we did. Now moving over, let's go through indexes. Let's just go over everything and see where we're at heading into tomorrow with some more economic data heading into tomorrow. Again, I still feel like the risk here is to the downside, and we'll go over this in a second. But NASDAQ, this is where I was saying you don't want to see it rolling over from here on heavy volume, which is sort of what we're getting, right? So there's no sense in fighting this market. What are you risking to what do you get to gain? For me, it doesn't fit any of my criteria to risk any money at these levels right now. So I'm not going to. So ES, we're talking about SPY here. There is a huge gap to fill. And here, we'll go over here to SPY, to the ETF. There's a huge gap down here to fill, 570. And, like we were saying, if things do roll over and selling does pick up, this 570 gap will get filled. And, if this does get filled down here and some sort of shakeout and crossover, move back above the 200-day moving average or something along those lines, that would be super bullish. So we'd love to see it. Don't care where this market goes. Don't have much exposure. So we're going to wait and see what goes on, and until something meets the strategy. I saw somebody that posted something that said the best traders are forced to trade, and that's very true. I always look for a risk. Why not am I going to do this? Why not? Not, oh, this is, what you can make. No, the first thing is always, what are you risking? And then I know what my risk is, and I know then what the reward is. So I'm sort of forced into these trades because they fit the criteria. I don't adjust my style. I pretty much have the same style, and that's it. Sometimes I do adjust it and deviate and get wrecked, so we do our best not to. So there's SPY. Let's go over to Russell. Let's see if Russell has any gaps in here to fill. No, they don't. Okay, so yeah, whatever. This looks like okay, I guess. I mean, shoot, anything below the 200-day moving average is always, a no-go. So, I don't know. I don't really have much an opinion here on Russell. Let's look at mid caps here. Again, is this going to be some sort of flagging pattern that's going to break out to the upside? Or is it going to break out to the downside? Or like this, right? We have yet to see. And you don't want to see this moving to the downside with the rest of the market. So let's get this drawing out of here. This is like some sort of character. All right. Now let's go over all the sectors. So we'll look at regional banks to see how they perform. I don't know. There's some sort of demand that's in here. So, whatever. I don't have an opinion. I don't have an opinion again here. So financials sector, again, don't have an opinion on this. What are those sectors? Healthcare, no opinion. Biotech, no opinion. Bonds, no opinion. Yeah. I still have the same opinion that I had a couple days back on this. So whatever. Let's look at high yield, and this looks whatever. If risky debt starts rolling over, then that's cause of more concern. That's just another thing to go into the bearish bucket, where riskier assets start rolling over while the market's rolling over. That's another thing to add into the bearish category. So as of now, this is of no concern, but it certainly looks a little suspect here. But again, like I said, this is not of concern yet. Okay, so look at industrials. How did industrials perform today? Man, industrials is holding up pretty well. That's cool. Utilities. Oh, this is something to go after again here soon. So that's good. So we'll watch here for utilities. Around the $80 price target would be good to go after for utilities again. Our old friend XLU. How's the volume on this pullback? Pretty heavy. Volume is one of those things super important to me, and that's because Jim Ropel and the guys over at IBD were very influential to my trading style. It's sort of the same, but not quite. But they're basically where I learned everything from. They believe in volume as one of the number one most important indicators. And, they're obviously super successful over there. But then I heard a trader today talking about how he's completely taken volume off of his charts, and they're completely irrelevant for him. And this dude's an old floor pit trader that's wildly successful. So again, there's so many strategies that can work. So, but when I heard that, I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. But whatever. So communications. Again, I don't really have an opinion on these. I don't really know. Okay, now let's go over Mag 7. So Microsoft, I think, hit a new all-time high today, and they did. But this is a sort of funky pattern going on. Yeah, they hit a new all-time high. Wow, the strength in Microsoft is great to see. Again, there is a massive gap here to fill that is super scary. Gaps are the absolute worst. I hate when a stock is gapped up or gapped down. Gap downs are easier to manage, but they're tough. They're a tough one because as the old saying goes, all gaps get filled, and that is in fact true. Some of them take years, and some of them take days. So it all depends, but they all will get filled at some point. So at some point this will get filled. 395, 400. There's even one down here, but I don't know how much you consider that valid. All right, let's look at Google. How did Google perform today? They gave back everything. Again, this is why stocks below 200-day moving average just here's some sort of flagging pattern, right? It's not confirmed. A move and close above 170, it would be confirmed breakout of that range. Nvidia, let's look at Nvidia down. Yeah, I just again, if for me, there's no more upside that I would expect at these levels. Now, could it have happened? Sure, of course. Anything can and does happen in markets. We all know that. But, it's just a game of probabilities. And the probability that the indexes were going to move higher today was less than, you know, moving lower. And that's why you stick to the probabilities and how that plays out with your trading strategy, whatever that may be. You know, it doesn't, again, like I said, it doesn't matter what the strategy is. As long as it's a profitable strategy over time. But there's a bunch that can work. You just figure out which one works for you, you know, and that's it. Okay. Let's see here. Video, Google, Meta. Let's look at Meta, how Meta's doing. Yeah, sort of same levels where what are you going to get along here? What are you risking? You're risking way too much for too small of a gain. Apple. Yeah, you know, it's so wild to me how much Apple has been underperforming, but it's also wild to me how amazing Apple has performed in the past. I just have never been a fan. So, you know, I don't know. But clearly one of the greatest stocks of all time. So, again, you know, your opinion just doesn't even matter in markets. It does not matter. Okay, Apple. I guess that's it for... Oh, shoot. Oh, Tesla. Oh my gosh, let's see how Tesla's performing today. Oh my lantern. Oh my word. Dude, I wonder how much net worth, you know, in terms of dollar amount Elon lost today from this move. I mean, yikes. This is wild. And then you see this right here. Elon Musk, in light of the president's statements about cancellation of my government contracts. Oh, the Trumpster, he gets mad, so he cancels Elon's contracts. SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately. That's terrible. That's terrible news because SpaceX does great things, you know? You know, obviously they do amazing things. They're, 10 years ahead of NASA? So, again, you know, should the government? No. They suck. They suck at everything. So that's terrible for anyone who's a fan of space exploration. That's terrible. SpaceX does like over 90% of all space travel. Including, you know, satellites and all that sort of stuff. SpaceX is the one that went and rescued those astronauts. Again, where Joe Biden wouldn't let SpaceX and Elon Musk go and rescue those astronauts until after the election. So again, government sucks. They're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. So that's not good. And I hope these guys are not going to be fighting. But I think the gloves are off, and Elon posts the big ugly bill will increase the deficit to $2.5 trillion. Yeah, see, you feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's freaking basically put his life on the line to try and reduce the budget and the deficit. And, you know, in the bill, I think that Trump was going to impose like 5% of what Doge found. And I thought to myself, oh no, that's not good. Elon's probably so pissed behind the scenes because that's effed up. And I guess, you know, shoot. So, man, lots of stuff going on. Really cool, really interesting. I mean, yikes. That's quite the sell. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen Tesla down that much in a single day. I mean, I guess it wouldn't really surprise me because it is Tesla. But 14.5%, my goodness. Let's see the volume off of the lows. do. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Wow. All right, so there's that. Now let's go over. Let's see what's up with gold. Gold is okay. Silver is the one rocking and rolling, baby. Finally, after years, everyone gives up on silver. And the moment you give up on it, it's rocking, you know? So it's typical, right? You're like, I've waited. I've been so patient. I've waited way too long. I'm going to get out. And then it just rockets higher. That definitely happens to me all the time. Let's see here. And then let's go over just some other random ones here. So Roblox. Again, I've loved trading Roblox. I mean, this is why this is on the watch list. Days like today are when you need to see stocks that are on a tear. And this is on some pretty heavy volume. So, you know, look for this to perform very well and relatively speaking, you know, I wouldn't go long, you know, here. So again, you know, it's my opinion. I've been wrong all the time, but I would not get long here for me personally. But any sort of meaningful pullback in Roblox for me is a must buy. So, and again, you know, I've been saying that for a while since Roblox was all through this area where it didn't meet my criteria, and the best stocks will not give you a chance to get in without just forcing you in. So this is, again, a fantastic sign to see. Let's look at Unity. I think Unity was sort of on a tear as well. It certainly was. Wow. 22 to 28 in a week. That's quite the gain. Again, this is something on the watch list. You know, this is according to how I learned through all this. This is not a sufficient base. So, but it's still on the watch list. Okay, let's look at Shake Shack. So burgers and French fries, they're rocking and rolling. That looks good. CCJ. CCJ is quietly looking really good. Again, I mean, what a wild... This market since December has been insane. So you're losing half. Gain it all back with, you know, 2 months. 2 months later, gain it all back, and it's sort of flagging to try and even push higher, which is wild. And it's good to see nuclear energy stocks performing well. I'm a huge fan of nuclear energy and think that's fantastic, and we should definitely do that more. That's something the government should do. Is reduce the regulation on nuclear energy and just allow for smaller, quicker ones to be built. There's lots of success of countries doing that, like France. So, hey, let's get to it. Let's get to it, baby. All these climate change people. Let's get off of oil. Let's get off of oil and fossil fuels, which is also a misnomer because they don't come from fossils. And you know, oil's the second most second largest liquid on Earth is oil, behind only to water. So there's plenty of oil, but if we all care so much about this planet, then let's go to nuclear, baby. Okay, Microsoft. Oil's so scarce. Let's just do nuclear. Cheap. All right. So that's that. Okay, now if you guys have stuck around long enough, yeah, that's all I have to do. Let's go over day trading. So today, going into the day, from a longer term, so how do I set up a day trading? Now, I am by no means a very good day trader. Just like with stocks, things take a long time to learn and to master. I've been day trading for, what was it, 2025, 3 years maybe. Which is not that long, to develop a profitable system and stick with that system. So, like I've said a million times, I am by no means a good day trader. I'm not one of those people that think day trading is stupid. I think it can fit within your portfolio for sure. And so, with that being said, let's go through how I plan the day around any sort of day trading. So I start on a longer term time frame, and I thought today that the risk was to the downside. I was not looking to really have any exposure going long. So I start off with that mindset. Okay. Then you go to the 4 hour chart. 4 hour chart at this point was like, looking like this. What time is this? Oh, that was last night. Yeah. So, yeah, basically looking like this, right? So you think, okay, the most upside that I could, reasonably see would be the 22s. Okay, so there's that. But we were already RSI's up here, around 70, right? So again, that's why I was more cautionary going into the day. Then you go over here to the hourly chart, sort of same thing, you know what I mean? Like, again, how much upside were we looking at? Okay, 30 minutes. Then go to 30-minute chart, and, this is sort of how things were looking here. More like that, right? So the 30-minute looked decent. A 15 minutes, you kind of need to get what is going to be the opening range. And the 15-minute opening range is always very important. I don't typically trade in the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes, So with that being said, I had a more caution mindset going into today. And let's see how things played out. And then we'll go over all my trades that I took. Let's see, where are we at? So, yeah, after that data that came out this morning, massive move, then gets completely sold off through the morning. So the first 15-minute range is to the downside. And that's where I got out of all of my positions, most of my swing trade positions. And then I'm looking for a bearish setup. And so I'm expecting more downside. Right here, like in this sort of whole area moving through here, I was expecting much more downside. What transpired is a massive move to the upside. I mean, massive. These are insane moves. Like, you'll get completely wrecked on the wrong side of these moves. These are huge, huge moves. So I think, dang, first of all, I was expecting it to go lower, which it did not. Second of all, these moves are so massive that I'm staying away from this. So I let it do its thing. And about this time, I think, man, I get out down here on those swing trades when up here would have been serious bangers. And then it just from here gets completely blasted. And so again, right, you're like, all right, I need to chill, not do anything in any of this. I mean, this is gnarly. This to me is more along the lines of a gambling mindset. I'm sure there's plenty of people that crushed it today, in this whole range. I mean, I know plenty of people that did get long all through here, and crushed it. But we'll go to where I get long. I mean, and then look at this selling. I mean, this is violent selling, violent. Huge volume. So now we chill until somewhere that's obvious. Okay, what time are we at? 10:20. Still nothing. Yeah, and then, again, huge selling back down. I mean, these are huge ranges. It doesn't really look that crazy because it's all relative, right? So we're only viewing today, but anyone that trades full time knows. I mean, these are absolutely massive moves. And again, this is just on a 5-minute chart. I mean, these are wild. So, okay, we'll keep going. Okay, so then when markets were completely puking is when I'm going to look for a move back up. And that I did. What time is this? 12:20. Okay, so here we go. Finally, that's my entire thought process. So now we'll move into the 2-minute chart. So when things meet my criteria on a 5-minute chart to go after it, I then zoom back into a 2-minute chart, and then I tell myself, if the trade is obvious, it'll show itself to me for my style on a 2-minute chart. So again, a 5-minute chart is going to confirm that I can now look for a position, either long or short. And the 2-minute chart for me is going to confirm if this is an obvious entry for the trade. So this is and here is obvious to start looking for a long. And usually with these huge wicks like we see in here, they will get filled. It's always very hard to know how much. I still haven't figured that out. Sometimes they don't get filled. Sometimes they do get filled. Sometimes only half, sometimes below. I'm still working through that. But you suspect and give yourself some wiggle room in here that this is going to get filled. So what time is this right here? And again, see, look at this. The RSI, we're in super oversold territory. Everybody's stop losses have been hit. Everybody's just gets completely wiped out. And a huge move to the downside, huge selling. That is all, everybody's stop losses just all the way to the downside. People going long, getting liquidated, trying to catch a bottom. So anyways, that's what all that heavy volume is. But again, hey, maybe you don't even really need volume. Okay. Okay, so all right, so here finally we'll make it into the trade. So 12:18. We have at 12:18, this is Pacific time. And again, I don't like trading in the last 15 minutes, and even the last 30 minutes is getting suspect. But 12:18, we've got 21,535. 21,535. Okay. Next, 12:18. So this NQ, boom, one contract, 21,535. These are minis. And 12:18 again, 21,547. So up a little bit. And then 12:20, 2 minutes later. So let's go. See, here you see this kind of dip below this, so we give it some wiggle room. And then 12.20. Then 12.20, 21.528.75, and then I'm gonna put this whole range right here. I want to trade. I want to buy this whole range all through in here. So that's all those trades that I put on. So 3 contracts, and we put our stop at 21.579. So, I'm really expecting this to get well above the 580s, but I'm not looking to get greedy here. So we get out at 21.579 with 3 contracts for an average gain of $836 per contract. And then, look at all this, right? Look at this massive move. That would have been spectacular move to have caught all that, which I did not. Again, I'm not the best day trader, that is for sure, but we will get there. And then the last trade I did here, was it in here? $12.31, so it must have been like right after this whole level right here or something. No, it was not there, but it was at 12.31. It was this level right here. So the 600s, and got out at 607 for, a small 7-point move of $145 dollars per contract. So that was it. Yikes. So going into tomorrow, I have no clue. I don't really have an opinion. I'm going to wait for the morning range to play itself out. I really have no opinion. If anything, I still feel like the risk is certainly to the downside. And if tomorrow we get more selling, it could be very heavy selling day. So we'll see. Anyways, I don't know if I'll be able to do a video tomorrow, but just chill. Again, everyone should be kind of out of everything. We've taken our profits from this move. Took our profits from this measly move right here. Messed up those debit spreads in SPY. So this last 2 weeks has been pretty mundane. Nothing's really happening, no real moves to catch. I have the same opinion going into tomorrow. I'm going to wait to see how the opening range is. And just remember, if anyone asks you for your opinion on should the government, say no. Later, guys.